What's up, guys? This is Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall markets. I want to talk about some key levels to watch for as time goes on and how the charts are looking in my personal opinion. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below or use my QR code right here to sign up. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below and deposit $100, you're going to get $20 for free Nvda stock. If you deposit $2,000 or more, you're going to get $50 worth of Nvidia plus $100 as the cash reward. Deposits $10,000 or more to get $300 worth of Nvidia plus $100, or deposits $50,000 or more to get $1,000 of free Nvidia stock plus $100. You're also going to qualify for an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash, and the offer ends very soon. So please use my link down below to sign up. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the market. So as far as the market's going this morning, we're completely range bound, right? As SPY hits 672, we're getting rejections, but as we hit 670, we like to bounce. So if SPY does not hold 670 and we get a big rejection here, there's going to be a risk of us tipping to fill the gap over here near 664. And there could be a bigger move down if 670 fails us. But if we hold above 672 for 4 hours, we could attempt to go for all-time highs back up to 674, and we'll see if we reject from there. But there is some upside potential. In the pre-market, we're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth right now. So be very patient and watch your levels. For now, keep in mind that today is Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. We have Waller from the Fed giving a speech at 9 o'clock a.m. and 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's pretty much it for our economic data. Keep in mind the government shutdown is still in effect, and we're technically into like the 21st day of it. And with that happening, there has not been too many data releases. Besides that, there was some news coming out about how Amazon Web Services were down, unfortunately, for quite some time. This was having a big effect on all kinds of different applications and websites. And as a result, it led to a lot of confusion. But Amazon has been working on the problem, and hopefully most of the issues are resolved by now. So that's what I'm hoping for, at least for the time being. Besides that, there's not really much else coming out that's too significant. I do want to mention that GM had their earnings. They did relatively well, once again beating expectations for EPS and revenue. They also lifted their guidance, which is some good news. We also had Coca-Cola announcing earnings, and after market close, we have Netflix. And then for Wednesday, we have Tesla and IBM. So Coca-Cola did very, very well. They beat their overall, forecasts. They did relatively well there. And then they ended up once again reiterating their guidance. So that is some good news that came out for Coca-Cola. So good job by them once again, beating expectations and simultaneously just reiterating that they should have a good guidance at least for the year. So that is some good news for Coca-Cola. And the last thing worth mentioning is what we heard from President Trump. He has warned us that China could be facing a 155% tariff unless they sign a deal as soon as possible. So that's what he's telling us, at least thus far. And he's saying that there will likely be a deal coming despite that. So we'll see how things end up going, but that's what we're hearing from President Trump. That's the latest update that's making headlines this morning. With that being said, now we're just going to focus on the charts. So what's happening with SPY and the others, we're just going to focus on that. So right now, the market looks very, very choppy and indecisive, right? If you look at the pre-market, this is the whole pre-market so far. We're just chopping, going back and forth, back and forth. As of right now, we don't really have much of a direction. So this is a very neutral chart. And when this happens, you have to be very, very unbiased. I do want to note that you could argue that there's like a rising wedge-like pattern that was developing. But will this lead to a rejection? Do we turn back up? We'll have to see about that. When we approach the all-time high at 674, we have rejected many times on SPY. But at the same time, we have not broken structure for that rejection. So we're still technically range bound. We're still technically going back and forth like this. So if we break 672, there could be an attempt for 674. But if we lose 670, we could be dipping back down towards 666 and 664. So watch to see what happens as we consolidate. But then there is some downside risk in case we do get the rejection. But I'm not going to call anything yet. We need to see confirmation first. As of right now, we're trading sideways. So wait and see if we could break 672 to push for all-time highs, or if we end up losing 670 to turn back down off the rising wedge. My only warning is that when you look at the daily time frame, there is this gap over here. There's a gap to fill on SPY all the way down towards 664. So in case there is some kind of rejection, I'll be watching that gap. So be very, very careful. That is another level that's worth mentioning. So in the pre-market, we're just completely flat. We're very indecisive. So be unbiased and trade the chart. Same thing with the QQQ, although the QQQ is showing a little bit more weakness. We need to basically get back above 613 to break for new all-time highs closer to 615. But if we end up losing 610, we could be dipping back down towards 604 or so to fill that gap. So watch and see how this ends up going. As of right now, we're going back and forth, but there is a risk of us retesting 610 and dipping lower in case that fails us. So lose 610, we're bearish. We break 613, we're bullish. Might retest 610, and we'll have to see what happens after that. For the IWM, we could be retesting 246 to 245, and we'll see if we bounce. If anything, we're actually making like lower highs right here, so we might be tipping towards these EMAs, and we'll see what happens. There's also this gap to fill right down here around 244, and we'll have to see what happens after that. ES, we basically have resistance at 6780 and 6800. If we break 6800, it's bullish, but if we lose 6750, I could see us turn a bit lower. That's a range to watch for on ES. We're going to see if we can break past 6780 to push for 6800, or if we end up losing 6750 to dip back down. We're in the middle. This is going to likely consolidate, but there is a risk of 6750 very, very soon. On NQ, we have resistance right here at 25,400, and we have support down here at 25,200. This is also consolidating. We need to break 25,400 to be bullish. If we don't, there's a risk of 25,100. Bitcoin's also consolidating right now. We need to hold above 109,000. If we don't, it's going to likely continue to consolidate, then dip for 107,000. For Tesla, we're also kind of like consolidating as well right here. If we retest 442, there's going to be, if we lose 442, we could be dipping to 438. But if we break past and hold above 445, I could see 450. So it depends how well do we hold up. I wouldn't be surprised if we consolidate first. And as long as we could hold 442, we could still bounce and push for like the 450s. But if 442 fails, I'm looking for 438 just in case. But for now, the upside potential is still there. On Nvda, we have resistance at 184 and support down here at 182. I think it's going to continue to consolidate. We have to reclaim 184. If not, there's going to be a risk of us dipping towards 180. On Appl, we're also consolidating. We need to hold above 264. If not, we're looking for 260 and eventually 258 as our supports, and we'll see how it goes. For Palantir, we're also consolidating. We're going to see if we could hold 179.71 or not. Might retest, and we'll have to see what happens after that. On AMD, we're going to see if we could break 240. If not, we could be dipping towards 234. I do see a risk of this dipping just a little bit. Coinbase is also dipping here. Could be retesting 337. We'll see how it goes. If not, we could be dipping lower to like 335. Amazon has resistance at 218. If that breaks, we're looking for 220. Meta has support down here at 733. We'll have to see what happens after that. If that fails us, we could be dipping lower. But as of right now, we're technically on an uptrend. We're testing this resistance near 737. If we break that, I'm looking for 740. If not, look for 733 as our main support. So break 737, we push higher, but lose 733, we turn back down. Otherwise, we're range bound. Google looks like it might be dipping towards like 252.5. And Microsoft is consolidating. It might retest 515, and we'll see if it bounces after that or not. The VIX is also dipping right here. We're going to see if it bounces. There is some risk of downside, however, so be very, very careful. We're near support, so it could retest like 18 flats, if not 17.4, and then bounce. We're near an area where we saw some resistance becoming support, so we're very neutral on the VIX and neutral on SPY and the QQQ. So for now, the best thing I could really tell you is just play the charts and be very careful with this. We're going to see if we get a rejection or not. Will the rising wedges pan out on SPY and the QQQ, or is this going to be a trap? Look for a very, very big test real soon. Thank you all for listening, though, and I'll see you guys in the next one in just a couple of hours, and peace out.